In this section, we're talking about literacies pedagogy, and in fact, we're talking about pedagogies in the plural, and we will be through this and the following sections. But what we're going to do in this section is kind of think about, in an overall way, what's the shape of literacy pedagogy. And part of our argument's going to be is we need to have a variety of activity types which are actually a variety of ways of thinking and a variety of types of knowledge activity.
By pedagogy, we mean the purposeful and deliberate recruiting of pedagogical traditions for specific purposes and goals. In our paradigm, we expect teachers to develop repertoires of pedagogical practices, repertoires of instructional sequences, and that they can pick and choose what is appropriate.
When we first started thinking about this question of literacies, we were working with the Multi-Literacies group, and we came up with 4 different types of literacy activity, 4 different orientations to literacy pedagogy. Now, we're going to use slightly different terminology, but I'm going to talk to the original terminology first. We came up with 4 things. These 4 were situated practice, overt instruction, transformed practice, and critical framing. Now, what we meant by situated practice is literacy is always in a context, it's always for a purpose, it's always doing something real in the world, and that connects with students' experiences, both their past experiences and their experiences in the future when they might want to imply what they've learned.
One of these domains we call situated practice. It is important that teachers understand the individual and where they're at, and that they build on the students' various interests, experiences, and knowledge. This is a very important step in understanding our learners and engaging them.
Overt instruction, which is a common kind of literacy activity type, involves speaking explicitly about the way in which language or the way in which meaning works. So, in fact, traditionally in education we did a lot of this. We spoke about nouns and verbs, we spoke about novels and characters. We had this kind of very explicit way of talking about the way in which language worked, as opposed to situated instruction, which is often an immersion model. Let's just look at texts, let's just immerse ourselves in them, let's just do them.
Another way in which we understand pedagogy is what we call overt instruction. This is a set of ways in which we explicitly uncover the patterns of meaning making in communication. Overt instruction involves ensuring that students are able to conceptualize the experiences that they've been introduced to and be able to understand the patterns that lead to theory.
Another orientation to literacy is what we call critical framing, which is, okay, what's the purpose of it? What does it do? Different types of meaning are used for different types of purposes in different places.
Another set of pedagogical practices we call critical framing, and that is exploring the interests and subjectivity of the learner and to understand why they're communicating. Also to understand what the interest of the content is, what is the purpose, what is the meaning behind particular disciplines and ways of understanding the world. This we call critical framing.
And then transformed practice is, what do we do with literacy? Well, we go out into the world and we make meanings. We actually make texts which translate what we've learned into some kind of practice, apply what we learn into some kind of practice.
Another set of activities we call transform practice. That is creating real-world meanings and applying understandings to new contexts. Now, these 4 domains of pedagogy, situated practice, overt instruction, critical framing, transform practice, have to be part of a repertoire. You have to know as a teacher when to move from one to the other, when to choose one over another, how to build a set of sequences that is clear about the kind of epistemological outcomes that you want. That is, what kind of thinking, what kind of learning, what kind of understanding do you want for any particular student, any particular class, or any particular subject area.
So that was our original multiliteracies framework. Now, what we've come to do more recently is, via a number of projects, including a project that we call the Learning by Design project, we've reframed that terminology somewhat and elaborated upon it somewhat in the ways that we'll now describe.